Islamic Finance ripe for Malaysia Russia collaboration? Government launches aviation decarbonisation blueprint. Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight with me, Renee Fong. Russia can tap on Malaysia's strength as a global leader in Islamic finance. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said one area ripe for collaboration for the two countries is Islamic finance, where Malaysia is regarded as a global leader, boasting a robust ecosystem of institutions that not only adhere to Sharia principles but also drive innovation in financial instruments.
Russia, with its sizable Muslim population, stands at the threshold of enormous potential in Islamic finance, and I believe the introduction of Islamic banking in Russia can facilitate joint projects and attract significant investments from Muslim-majority nations.
On education and research, the Prime Minister said Russia has a long-standing reputation for excellence, particularly in the science, technology, engineering and mathematics fields.
The recent establishment of the Russian-Malaysian High-Tech Center in Malaysia underscores our commitment to fostering technological innovation and academic excellence. In facilitating cooperation in developing high-tech solutions, particularly in energy efficiency, data transmission, and smart city technologies, we can harness our collective strength to drive innovation and address the challenges of the 21st century.
Datuk Seri Anwar said this today when addressing the plenary session at the 9th Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok, Russia, in which Russian President Vladimir Putin was also among the panelists. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Anwar said the rise of the Global South is inevitable and can no longer be ignored. He said the Global South's push to play a bigger role on the international stage would also encourage regional powers to step forward and the emergence of new powers to join in its agenda.
In this regard, the rise of the Global South does not signify merely a shift of economic power, but a reconfiguration of global influence, encompassing countries across Asia, China, India, Africa, and Latin America. The Global South is on a trajectory to play a pivotal role in reshaping the future of the world economy.
Datuk Seri Anwar said the Global South is a key catalyst for global prosperity as it contributes around 40% of the world's gross domestic product and is home to 85% of the world's population. By 2030, he said 3 of the world's 4 largest economies will come from the Global South.
In this vein, Malaysia is actively pursuing opportunities within the Global South and joining fellow nations that seek to create a new paradigm of development, one that is more inclusive, equitable, sustainable, and resilient. In a world of increasing complexity, our future prosperity depends on our ability to adapt, innovate, and build relationships that cut across traditional boundaries. The Global South is rising, and Malaysia intends to rise with it.
On another matter, Datuk Seri Anwar said Malaysia will continue oil explorations within its territory, despite China's demand to immediately cease the activities of Sarawak waters. The Prime Minister is also certain that the oil explorations carried out by Malaysia are within the country's waters, but will explain its position to China.
Beijing pun hantarkan sekali dua bantahan kerana dia rasa itu kawasan dia. Jadi kita kata kita akan terpaksa teruskan kerana ini soal survival ekonomi negara kita.
Recent news reports surfaced which stated that Beijing, through diplomatic note, has demanded Malaysia to immediately halt all oil and gas activities in the oil-rich area of Sarawak waters, despite the areas being located within Malaysia's territorial and exclusive economic zone waters. Malaysia and Russia agreed to demand that Israel stop the violent and cruel attacks on Gaza immediately. Datuk Sri Anwar said Malaysia and Russia also expressed regret, especially over the refusal of the United States to set a firmer stance in Israel's war on Gaza.
Because they are finally accountable. No country, no person can continue to do this gross injustice and tolerate the atrocities and think they are safe. I don't believe that can ever be accepted. We want justice to all mankind. And of course, we cannot deny justice because of their different color or different religion or different creed. Justice means justice for humanity. And it's time that Palestine and the Palestinians are treated as human beings, not as slaves or second-class people. Thank you.
The Transport Ministry, or MOT, has launched the Malaysia Aviation Decarbonisation Blueprint MADB to expedite the aviation sector's commitment to achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Transport Minister Anthony Loke stated that the blueprint will guide aviation stakeholders in Malaysia towards this goal, addressing the absence of a specific green aviation policy to support the nation's commitment.
Dalam blueprint itu, peranan masing-masing dan apakah usaha kerajaan, apakah dasar kerajaan dan bagaimana kita punya strategi untuk mencapai sasaran itu. Jadi semua itu dibukukan, dilaporkan dalam satu blueprint yang kali pertama Kementerian Pengangkutan mengambil inisiatif ini untuk kita pastikan kita ada satu kerangka yang jelas supaya semua stakeholders ini faham apa peranan mereka masing-masing.
A steering committee chaired by the ministry will oversee the implementation of the blueprint's initiatives, including representatives from various ministries, agencies and aviation stakeholders. Additionally, the Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia will craft a state action plan to support the initiatives. The online safety bill, which is expected to be tabled in the Dewan Rakyat in October, is comprehensive and takes into account cybercrimes that may occur in the future. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said the new act was enacted in the interests of all Malaysians, especially children who use the internet as a medium of daily communication.
Dalam hal ini, kita merasa sangat prihatin terhadap mangsa buli, mangsa scam dan juga tentu akta ini akan melihat beberapa aspek dari segi jenayah.
Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid also said the Attorney General's chambers will draft the bill to be brought to the Cabinet for approval before being presented in the Dewan Rakyat in October. Citing the tragic death of cyberbullying victim Rajaswari Apahu, known online as Esha, he said the younger generation is exposed to risks that previous generations never encountered, such as exposure to inappropriate content and online predators. He said creating a secure digital environment that protects children and helps families manage online risks is a responsibility shared by all. In the business segment, Bank Negara keeps OPR unchanged at 3%. The Monetary Policy Committee MPC of Bank Negara Malaysia has decided to maintain the overnight policy rate OPR at 3%. In a statement, the central bank said at the current OPR level, the monetary policy stance remains supportive of the economy and is consistent with the current assessment of inflation and growth prospects. The bank said the Monetary Policy Committee remains vigilant to ongoing developments to inform the assessment on the domestic inflation and growth trajectories going into 2025. The committee will ensure that the monetary policy stance remains conducive to sustainable economic growth amid price stability. BNM noted that the global economy continues to expand amid resilient labour markets and continued recovery in global trade. It said global trade recovery is expected to continue, supported by both electrical and electronics E&E as well as non-E&E products. The growth outlook, however, remains subject to downside risks, mainly from further escalation of geopolitical tensions, volatility in global financial markets, and slower growth momentum in major economies. The 13th Malaysia Plan will closely resemble the first Malaysia Plan, a strategic document known for its conciseness and comprehensive nature, where each word is dedicated to a specific policy direction. Economy Minister Rafizi Ramli acknowledged that crafting the 5-year plan is a complex task, given the country's significant economic transformation.
Dan keutamaannya ialah tumpuan kepada cabaran-cabaran ekonomi dan juga reformasi dan prescription dasar dan program yang radikal untuk menangani cabaran tersebut, dan proses yang kita akan tekankan juga ialah supaya penglibatan seluruh lapisan masyarakat itu lebih menyeluruh.
He added instead of a large blueprint, the government now prefers to roll out reforms in pocket sizes, allowing room for maneuver and adaptation based on citizen feedback. The 13th Malaysia Plan is currently being drafted and is expected to take 6 months to complete, with full completion by May next year. This important document for the country's economic planning is scheduled to be presented in the Dewan Rakyat in July next year, following approval from the Cabinet. On another note, Rafizi said Malaysia should capitalise on the ASEAN open market to showcase its products and services, keeping itself at the forefront of a bloc projected to reach 1 billion consumers. He said Malaysia is already leading in the region, offering significant opportunities as ASEAN is projected to become the world's 4th largest economic power within the next 10 to 15 years. ASEAN currently has around 700 million consumers, and within this time frame, the number is expected to grow to 1 billion. China has emerged as a major economic power, and India is also on track to become one, with a market exceeding 1 billion consumers. Rafizi added that aside from the major global economies, ASEAN is the only region experiencing strong and sustained growth. He further highlighted that many experts predict ASEAN will surpass Europe as the world's 3rd largest consumer market. Malaysia is ready and optimistic about relaunching the Malaysia-European Union Free Trade Agreement (MUFTA) negotiation pending the bloc's approval. This is based on the high potential benefits for businesses and people in the country, as well as ensuring global supply chain reliability in key sectors. A statement from the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, or MITI, clarified that an initial assessment began in September last year to review the necessary steps. The outcomes from the preliminary study were presented and agreed upon in last week's cabinet meeting. Despite differences on some issues, the ministry is committed to ensuring that the draft agreement protects the country's interests and is acceptable to both parties. The agreement has the potential to boost the country's exports particularly in electrical and electronic products, palm oil and palm oil-based products, and optical and scientific equipment to the EU market. Additionally, it encourages investment flows into high-tech sectors like green energy and advanced manufacturing, aligning with the mission outlined in the new Industrial Master Plan 2030. Last year, the EU was the country's fourth largest trading partner, with total trade worth 206.79 billion ringgit. The Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation (MATRADE) has renewed its commitment to accelerating market access to China by signing a Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) with the China Construction Bank (CCB) Malaysia. MATRADE Chairman Datuk Sri Rizal Nine American said this collaboration represents a significant step forward in efforts to support Malaysian exporters by granting them greater access to China market, along with various financing solutions and assistance. He added, with MATRADE's extensive experience in promoting Malaysian products and services globally, combined with the strong network of the CCB, this MOU will serve as a platform to further strengthen trade relations between the two countries. Bilateral trade between Malaysia and China reached 275.8 billion ringgit from January to July this year. And to date, Malaysia has exported 105.47 billion ringgit worth of goods, notably increasing exports of electrical and electronic products. The formation of SG4 Groups in Berhad by the opposition-led states of Kedah, Kelantan, Perlis and Terengganu is well-intentioned, but it should analyse the global rare earth element (REE) market prices. Elaborating further on the matter, Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi noted that the current rare earth element prices have dropped by 70% due to market dumping and stockpile production by certain countries.
Jadi, walaupun harganya turun 70% daripada harga asal, namun potensinya cukup besar dan empat negeri ini tentu mempunyai strategi sendiri, tetapi ianya masih tertakluk kepada percukaian dan juga ekosistem yang telah ditentukan oleh Kerajaan Persekutuan bagi tujuan ekspor.
Terengganu Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Samsuri Mokhtar was previously reported as saying that SG4 Group will focus on developing the rare earth element processing industry in an effort to improve the economy of the four states under the Perikatan Nasional Administration. Entrepreneur and Cooperatives Development Minister Dato' Ewan Benedict reported that about 21% or 7.22 million of Malaysians participated in 15,809 cooperatives nationwide last year, reflecting strong public trust in the cooperative movement. He highlighted that the movement's contributions are significant, with share capital and fees totaling 17.45 billion ringgit and assets reaching 165.9 billion ringgit. Additionally, the sector generated 64.56 billion ringgit in revenue, demonstrating its vital role in the nation's economic growth. He emphasized that the cooperative movement is essential for economic development by adapting to economy needs and technological advancements. In Malacca, the cooperative sector is pivotal in poverty alleviation and achieving the state's sustainable status goal by 2035. With 487 cooperatives serving around 178,000 members and generating 156 million ringgit in turnover, it shows significant potential. Dato' Ewan noted Malacca's rich history and culture as a major tourism hub, suggesting that the influx of tourists during Visit Malacca Year 2024 presents an excellent opportunity for cooperatives to showcase their best products and services. Small and medium enterprises (SMEs) should integrate environmental, social and governance (ESG) principles into their operations despite initial costs to enhance their value. Dr. Naziatul Azia Muhammad Razzi from University Kebangsaan Malaysia emphasised that even small steps can lead to significant future changes and that understanding ESG is crucial for companies to grasp their environmental impact, including resource use and waste management. Dr. Naziatul Azia noted that recognising the social impact can improve employee relations and governance practices. While ESG may incur some costs, it ultimately creates value through better training and understanding. She also highlighted a growing awareness of ESG in Malaysia but stressed the need for deeper integration across sectors for sustainable business strategies. On digital literacy, Associate Professor Dr. Sabaria Muhammad Saleh stated that Malaysia is still developing these skills. She advocated for a comprehensive approach similar to Indonesia's integration of digital literacy into school curricula. Dr. Sabaria further proposed a 5-year roadmap for enhancing digital literacy, emphasizing the importance of collaboration, research and effective communication for success. Now, according to Women, Family and Community Development Minister Dato' Sri Nancy Shukri, higher contributions from women in the economy could boost Malaysia's GDP by 6 billion ringgit by 2025. She said the ministry is committed to enhancing women's empowerment through collaboration between the public and private sectors to create more opportunities for women in the local workforce.
Dan kita membuat pelbagai program untuk memberi ruang kepada wanita untuk kembali bekerja. Dan selain daripada itu juga support system dari segi tax incentives, semua itu kita bantu juga kerajaan tax incentives dan juga subsidi untuk mereka yang hantar anak ke taska. Jadi supaya mereka dapat bekerja kembali.
Dato' Sri Nancy highlighted the Volvo Trucks Malaysia Iron Women Initiative as a key example of the government's efforts to address gender disparities and foster a more inclusive society by leveraging existing policies and industry strengths. She emphasized the unique roles women play as nurturers in the community, noting that empowering them can create a positive ripple effect, lifting families out of poverty and enhancing quality of life. AmInvestment Bank Berhad has raised its base case and 2024 FTSE Bursa Malaysia KLCI FBM KLCI target to 1,660 from 1,635 earlier, supported by robust foreign equity flows and stronger ringgit prospects. The bank noted that the recent surge above the key resistance of 1,640 and reaching a new multi-year high suggests that the FBM KLCI's bullish trend remains intact. It said that coupled with the positive slopes of its 20-day and 50-day exponential moving averages, the upward momentum is likely to persist in the longer run. AmInvestment Bank now anticipates the key support zone at 1,580 to 1,600. It further said on the upside, the immediate resistance level is at the 1,700 psychological mark. Nevertheless, AmInvestment Bank also cautioned investors about potential short-term corrections due to a slower-than-expected rollout of domestic infrastructural projects, moderation of domestic consumption, and the likely derating of oil and gas sector. It said these downside risks could be partly mitigated by resilient local institutional liquidity as Malaysian equities offer decent corporate earning prospects, compelling dividend yields of 4% and low foreign shareholding of 19.6%. Coming up later in our foreign front, China offers Africa $50 billion in fresh funding. Japan has vowed to bolster military ties with Australia during a high-ranking visit, with Tokyo's top diplomats saying the like-minded partners must stick together to combat shared regional threats. Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa and Defence Minister Minoru Kihara met their Australian counterparts at an all-army fort outside of Melbourne, striking deals on greater Air Force cooperation and expanded military exercises. Touting a like-minded partnership, Kamikawa said amidst the increasingly difficult security environment in the Indo-Pacific, there is a need to constantly raise Japan-Australia security cooperation to a new height. The meeting produced broad agreements for Japan and Australia to boost Air Force cooperation and to join each other in military exercises alongside the United States. Japan's elite amphibious rapid deployment brigade could soon take part in US Marines rotations based in Australia's key northern base near Darwin. The two countries also agreed to jointly help the Philippine Coast Guard, which is locked in an escalating tussle with Chinese ships in the disputed waters of South China Sea. President Xi Jinping has pledged to step up China's support across the debt-distressed African continent with funding of nearly $51 billion, backing for more infrastructure initiatives and a promise to create at least 1 million jobs. The commitments were made at the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Summit in Beijing. In Beijing, the world's biggest two-way lender also promised to carry out 3 times as many infrastructure projects across resource-rich Africa.
中方愿主动单方面扩大市场开放，决定给予包括33个非洲国家在内的 所有同中国建交的最不发达国家100%税目产品零关税待遇。
The Chinese leader committed $50.70 billion in financial assistance, but specified that $29.5 billion would be disbursed through credit lines and at least $9.8 billion in fresh investment by Chinese companies, with smaller amounts provided through military aid and other projects. Cities in southern China suspended schools and cancelled some flights as tropical storm Yagi strengthened into a super typhoon and barreled straight for the holiday island province of Hainan. Yagi triggered floods and landslides on the main Philippine island of Luzon this week, leaving at least 13 dead. The tropical storm intensified into a super typhoon as it tracked west across the South China Sea, packing winds of up to 209 kilometers per hour as it headed for Hainan. The typhoon is expected to make landfall tomorrow afternoon in either Hainan or neighboring Guangdong. Work, school, and local transport services were suspended in Haikou, Hainan's capital. And in Hong Kong, which Yagi is expected to bypass, the Weather Observatory said it issued the city's 3rd highest typhoon warning, limiting public transport across the finance hub. Classes at kindergarten and special schools in Hong Kong were also suspended, while budget airline Hong Kong Express says 6 flights have been rescheduled. After southern China, Yagi will move towards Vietnam on course to hit the northern and north-central regions around the famed UNESCO heritage site, Halong Bay. And that's all we have in this evening's edition of Malaysia Tonight. And in our top story, Islamic Finance ripe for Malaysia Russia collaboration. And do tune in to World Today coming up tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. on TV2. Till then, I'm Renee Fong, Malaysia Madani, Jiwa Merdeka. Thanks for watching and have a pleasant evening.